Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bitter Rivals podcast. This is Check's Notes, episode 111. I'm your host, Avery. This is co-host Gitano Gallo, and this episode, as always, is powered by 91N. So, it's been a week for Leafs fans. It's basically civil war at this point, I think. And I don't even think we know what we're fighting about, which makes it all that much better. So we'll go over it very simply. It was 3 past regulation, 2 wins and a shootout, 1 loss in overtime to the Boston Bruins last night after a comeback and a goal with 5.7, I believe, is what they ended up with on the clock. I think they changed it to 5.7.
Yeah. Well, whatever. That's,
Matthews scores a goal with under 6 seconds left. We can confirm there was under 6 seconds left in the hockey game. Ties it up, goes into overtime. It was a hell of an entertaining overtime period. The Boston Bruins had 11 shots in the overtime period, which was the most out of any period for the whole game, and it was 5 minutes long, not even. So that's kind of an unbelievable stat if you really think about it. Me and Gitano actually watched the game together, and the end of the Habs Detroit game, which we will talk about later. But we'll start at the top with the Leafs, as we always do. So we lost to Pittsburgh. Yes, it was the 2-1 shootout victory versus the Florida Panthers with one of the most insane reviews. And it was the right call. Like, you are not allowed to touch the puck with your stick twice. Like, you cannot score on a rebound attempt in a shootout.
No,
that's
absolutely
rule.
correct.
We know that. But I've never seen that before. Have you?
No. And especially as, the winning goal, the Panthers were fucking, in the locker room.
Joseph Woll had his entire setup off. He had to get redressed.
Yeah, I've never seen it to, that extent at all. I thought it was great.
It was fantastic. And for it to not go any further than it possibly could have after that, for us to score and them to miss, immediately following it just made it so perfect. It was like a win completely ripped away from the Florida Panthers. It was beautiful to watch. It brought a tear to my eye. It really did. Then the next game was a shootout win against the Seattle Kraken. We went up in that game and we gave up a lead. Mitch Marner had a hat trick. It was he needed that. He really, really needed that because he has been awful. And we can talk about that a little bit. We probably will talk about that a little bit here after we just go over the games. But that was a victory, and you're giving up that point to a Western Conference team, so it doesn't really matter the way I look at it. So maybe it wasn't the prettiest win, but the Leafs did end up getting both of those victories. And Joseph Woll was fantastic for both of those games and last night's game. Joseph Woll has been really freaking good. He's been really, really good. And it's been a long time coming that the Leafs have a drafted and developed really good goaltender. We're talking Felix Potvin. I've mentioned that on this show before. It's so nice to see this kid coming into his own. And he's not a kid. He's from the same draft class as Austin Matthews.
Is he actually?
Yes.
That's so... I would never have guessed that.
Yeah. No, I know. It's kind of insane. But he spent a lot of time back in junior. He spent a lot of time playing in the AHL. And he succeeded at both of those levels. And it's carrying over. It's true development. This kid's gone through 8 years of development here with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
And I mean, it's no surprise... that a goalie's development takes that much longer to kind of hit this level. So yeah, that blows my mind. I didn't know that he was in the Matthews draft class.
Yeah, and he's been the story at least of the past week for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Samsonov wasn't even available last night. He was out with illness, so Martin Jones was backing up Joseph Woll. I'm not sure that he would have gotten 3 straight starts if that wasn't the case, but I'm glad he did because he got to show that he can handle that. He got to show that he can be the backbone of a team for an extended period of time. He doesn't need to be a 1A or a 1B. He can just be the one. And I think that's something that's really important for him to prove to the coaching staff right now. His goalie coach, Sheldon Keefe, even the general manager, Brad Chilivik. It's really important that he makes that known. He's able to do this, and he will succeed if you allow him to do this. And I think another now that we've gone over all the games, we don't really need to talk much more about last night's game. It was a good hockey game, and it was one of the first games this year that the Leafs, first of all, that they outshot their opponent in. Until the very end there in the overtime period when Boston just had a flurry. But even in the overtime period, man, Wool was fantastic. Like, he made some unbelievable saves. Even the goal they scored on, that was like a Pasternak partial break that he stopped at first, and then Pasternak gets the puck over to Marchand for the victory. But yeah, I'd like to talk about the top players. William Nylander has gone pointless now since his streak ended, which is kind of hard to watch. He's hit probably, I would guess, anywhere between 15 and 20 posts since then. But it is what it is. Those don't even count as shots on goal.
No.
So it doesn't.
But I mean, it shows you those fine margins, right? Those shots are that half inch inside the post, and we're talking about the streak being 20-something games, right?
Exactly. Austin Matthews, until last night when he scored a couple, has been very, very cold. I believe he's up to 16 goals on the season now, but I think he's only scored in like 8 games, maybe. Like, it's not like, you know what I mean? He's out there every other night putting up an effort, and the issue is he seems to be blending into play, and when you see a superstar like that start blending in with the rest of the guys on the ice, it kind of makes you nervous. Marner's been very pedestrian. I'm pretty sure I talked about that last week. His magic isn't there. Up until that hat trick game, obviously, scoring a hat trick's pretty magical. But up until then, he was piss poor. It's not really. There's no way to glaze it. He's just been not great. He's been giving pucks away at the blue line, and it's continued for a solid 20 games here. Yeah, it's hard because you know what he has to offer. You know what he can do. You've seen him do it. You know what he gets paid to do and how much he gets paid to do it. And it's just hard to watch him struggle like that. But then hopefully that hat trick game wakes him up a little bit. Hopefully getting hit in the jaw with a puck wakes him up a little bit. That would be nice. Maybe Fishbowl Mitch will be like masked LeBron back in Miami. But I didn't see much of it last night. I do believe he had at least a point, but I don't. He wasn't overly visible last night like he was against Seattle. Yeah, Tavares, he's been doing him. He 5-on-5, he's been fantastic. He hasn't really done much on the power play this year, which is odd because that's where he's excelled as a Leaf to this point throughout the contract. But it's nice to see him at 33 years old still doing what he's doing. I don't think you could ask much more from him, to be honest. Tyler Bertuzzi has continued to look great all through this week, just like he did leading into last week's episode. Max Domi scored his first goal as a Leaf last night. That was really nice to see. Yeah, I think the Civil War is coming. When I said that to open the show here, I think that comes because we're still winning hockey games. Like, I believe the stat is now in our last 9, we're like 6-2 or what is it? 6-1-2, maybe? Is that what it is?
7-4-1 at home, 5. Yeah. Yeah, you're 6-2-2 in your last 10, sorry.
6-2-2 in the last 10. So there you go. That, like, any team, you look at that record and you go, that's pretty good. Like,
yeah, I think most teams in the league would take that over the last 10 games.
But they haven't even come close to offering what they can. Like, they're not playing at their highest level at all yet. And this decor is so suspect it hurts to look at. But we're still putting up the numbers. And that's where the Civil War comes from. Because, like, all of the players that we pay the most money to be the best haven't been. We've been kept in a lot of games by our goaltending. Our decor sucks. Like, it's just right now with all of the injuries, it's not good. Like, it's not a playoff team decor. It just isn't. And you would think when looking at all of those things that we would have lost like 10 of our last 10 games, considering that we need, in order for this team to succeed, the big guys need to be going. And if they're not, we're screwed because we just don't have the ability to keep the puck out of the net if those guys aren't scoring. We need and this was remember that question that Spector asked McDavid, would you prefer to win the game 2-1 or 7-4?
Yeah.
We have to win our games right now 7-4. Like if we're, you know what I mean? That's what it feels like. But and it's kind of crazy because looking back on these games here, like they're not that high scoring games. Like 4-3 in Boston, 4-3 in Seattle, 2-1, 3-2, 4-3. Like we're not looking at 7-5, 7-4 games here like you might expect.
No, because you guys can't get fucking regulation wins.
Yeah, it's yeah.
But
yeah, I
like,
know.
but that's the thing. Like, as someone who's not in as part of the Civil War, like I'm just observing it. Like, you're like, I don't see a difference really in winning in regulation or in overtime. As long as you're winning the game, like those 2 points is all that matters.
Well, and you could even make the argument that winning a close game like that is its own skill. Like, and it's something that could translate to playoff success. Is when you're in a close game, you find a way to win it,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
As opposed to having to make it like there's two viewpoints here, and I think that's where it comes from. Like that's what I'm talking about here. Is you have the viewpoint of why do we have to? Why does every game have to be tight and close? Why can't we just blow teams out of the water? We have the skill to do it. Why can't we do it? But on the other hand, when we're in these close games, we find a way to win, which is a skill all in itself, right? And it's a mindset all in itself. Even last night, we lost, but to come back in the third period like that and at least secure a point against a divisional rival that you're actually not too far away from in the standings. Yes, Boston's in first place, but I don't believe there's that much of a gap now. I believe we have a game at hand, and they've got 7 points on us.
Yeah, they've got 7 points on you, and you have a game in hand.
So that's not awful. And to secure that point last night was huge from Matthews and even Marner, who made the pass over to Matthews for the game tire with 5 seconds left. Yeah, that's about all I got for Leafland. We don't play now until Thursday, so we're gonna have some time off, which I hate the schedule maker this year.
Schedule's been real weird this year, eh?
Well, with the Sweden trip, like we're going like, it went week off, Sweden trip, week off, regular, week off. Like I don't know I don't know what's going on here, but anyway, let's move over to Montreal. There was the game last night. Who else did the Montreal Canadiens have the pleasure of getting their ass kicked by this week?
So we finished off our road trip in Columbus, beating them 4-2 on Wednesday. Lost on home ice to the Panthers on Thursday, and then lost again last night in Montreal to the Red Wings in overtime. Kind of the same old story we've had this year. The slow starts, falling behind early. Lucky enough, we were able to pull it back against Columbus, but the Panthers just ran away with it in the third. And again, a late comeback last night to get the point, at least a pity point, losing in overtime. But the big news this week is Alex Newhook, high ankle sprain. He's out for 10 to 12 weeks. Just as he was kind of getting on a roll, he had points in, I think, 6 of his last 7, handful of goals. Just, I know you hate when I talk about it, but just like these injuries are just so fucking. Just every time someone seems to get on a roll,
Before you even continue with this injury conversation, half of our decor are ECHL players. You understand that, right?
Oh, I know.
Like
I know.
Bill
But here's the thing.
Lagesson,
Montreal
Simon
Canadiens legend
Benoit.
William Lagesson.
He's been good, but he's not an NHL defenseman.
No. But like the thing is, like you have like the rest of a team to like work around. The Habs like don't, in terms of like we're still rebuilding. Like, we're still not at our healthiest. We're not a great team. And then you take like Kirby Dach and Alex Newhook and rip them out of lineup. It's like, oh fuck. The decor actually has been holding up decently well with the injuries. So like Jack Eye and Harris are still out. Weidman still hasn't played a game this year, but Jaden Strubles looked super good. He's only played, I think, about 6 or 7 games now. But like just looks like an NHL defenseman. Like he's not panicking. He's not rushing. He doesn't seem like he's in over his head. He's playing a super simple game. Don't get me wrong. He's not, taking up 25 minutes a night, but like those 10, 12 minutes he gets is just simple, efficient hockey. And it's been actually really nice to watch. Also, big news out of Montreal: Sam Montembeault signed a 3 by 3.15. I love it. I think it's perfect for both parties, really.
Yeah.
Because the Habs aren't going to be good in the next 3 years. Like that's part of rebuilding. So like we're not committing to like too much time with him. It's not like you're giving him 5 or 6 years where he's like going to be part of your hopefully contending team. But like realistically, in like to say in that third year, if the Habs need to move him on, like 3.15 with the cap going up is also like totally movable. If it ends up that way, like I think it's just a really solid deal for everyone, really, and also no trade protection in there at all, which is super key.
Yeah, well, what I thought was interesting was this. I'm sure would take him out of the Edmonton Oilers sweepstakes, where there's been lots of talk about them looking for one of those Montreal goaltenders.
I'm not 100% sure what their cap situation looks like and what they could be sending back, but I'm trying to think. Give me a sec to pull up Jake Allen's contract here.
Well, I'm sure the Jake Allen contract. I would guess. I don't know. I'm guessing it's somewhere between 4 and 6.
Jake Allen's making 3.85. So he's got this year and one more.
Okay. Okay. So
like not a significant difference there. $700K.
Okay. I feel like they wouldn't have signed Montembeault to a contract though if they wanted him to be the one that they move on from this year. Like you're right. Maybe that would be something that they explore in year 3 of the contract if they're still a struggling team. But I just mean like that kind of takes them out of this year, and the Edmonton Oilers need a fucking goaltender like more than they need their next breath. I think they understand that. And everybody was talking about them looking at the 3 in Montreal because there's Primo as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I just think it's just interesting. There's zero trade protection. So I have seen that people are like, oh, like this could be something that still gets flipped to Edmonton, but now because he's got 3 more years left on that deal, you could ask a little more because it's not like they're getting a UFA or anything like that. Not that Allen is either, because he still has 1 more year after this, but you know what I mean.
I feel like that would be such a dick move, though. Sign him to a contract and then immediately trade him to Edmonton, where goaltenders go to die.
But at least you signed him to that deal. So it's like you can pull Jack Campbell and make fucking $5 million playing in the AHL.
I've heard that they're exploring bringing Jack Campbell back up to the big team. He's had 3 reasonable starts down in the A, from what I understand, and they're seeing if they could bring him back up here.
I mean, like, what are their other options? Stuart Skinner and
run him with the skin daddy.
Like,
that's about it. Jeff Skinner.
Their other goalie.
It's I forget his name.
Calvert Picard.
yeah, Picard. Calvin Picard.
Yeah, like that's just. I mean, that's just 3 awful fucking options. If we're gonna be totally honest.
It is, but if I'm not mistaken, they've won either 4 or 5 in a row now. Those Oilers. The Edmonton Oilers.
They have won 4 in a row.
Yeah, they have.
They've
beaten the Ducks 8-2. They beat the it started against the Capitals. They beat the Caps 5-0. Ducks 8-2. They beat the Golden Knights 5-4 in a shootout, and they beat the Jets on Thursday night.
So you'll never guess what the only other team in the league is with a 4-game winning streak right now.
I'm going to guess the San Jose Sharks.
Wrong. The Arizona Coyotes.
No. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So I mean,
now too.
Where are they?
I'm pretty sure they have.
No, they've only won 1 in a row. They're 4-5-1 in their last 10. So they might have won their 4. Lost
really good for them, dude. That's really, really good. Like, who do they play next? They got the Rangers today at 6. Oh, I'm gonna watch that game.
I want to see the second in the league, by the way.
Pardon?
The Rangers are second in the league right now, by the way.
I know. That's why I want to see the Sharks beat them. That would be awesome. I feel like there was some stuff maybe that happened this week, Gitano. Something that had to do with maybe concealing some information in the Windy
I
City.
mean, a team from Chicago, like, not fully disclosing, like, legal matters? Shocking.
You couldn't make this stuff up. You actually couldn't make this stuff up.
You can take the lead on this one.
Before I go off here, are we done talking about the Habs? Like, do you have anything else you would like to mention? We'll get into the games throughout the week here.
Yeah, so
At the
until
end
we
of the
do
show.
future schedule, I think we're good with Habs for right now.
But we're good to like put
Yeah,
Corey
yeah.
Perry on the barbecue and the Chicago Blackhawks on the barbecue here.
Oh, 100%.
Okay, so this is one of the craziest, most egregious things, and that's crazy to say coming like talking about the Chicago Blackhawks. Okay. So let's just like give a timeline of events here, okay? So Corey Perry gets sat out a few games. We mentioned it on last week's show, I believe, very briefly. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's sat out. I believe he actually was yanked from the middle of a game. Like in the middle of the second period, the Blackhawks pulled him from a game.
So I don't remember that, but it also wouldn't shock me if that happened.
I believe that is what happened. I might be wrong. I apologize if I am, but I believe that is what happened. He was pulled from the middle of a game with no explanation. People figured it was some form of injury, right? Then he's healthied the next game, and then he's healthied again. And people are now like, what's going on? What's going on down in Windy City there? Something doesn't smell right. So what happens when something doesn't smell right and everybody on Twitter is talking about it? Rumors start, right? That's what happens. Well, the Chicago Blackhawks had a mom's trip early in the month of November, right? And a rumor began that was absolutely wild, like one of the craziest rumors that I've ever heard in my life. It was not true at all. Yeah, the rumor was that Corey Perry had slept with Connor Bedard's mother. That was the rumor. And it is, I want to reiterate that that is completely not true. We are not fabricating stories here on the Bitter Rivals podcast. That is not what we do. We are just relaying information. That is all. So, finally, I think it was 4 days after he gets yanked from the game. And this 18-year-old future of the franchise, Connor Bedard, had to look at this shit on Twitter and Instagram.
Like it was trending for 4 straight days.
For 4 days, this was trending, this rumor. Like, and nobody came out to deny it. Nobody. Not him, not Corey Perry, not the Blackhawks, not the coach, not the GM. Like, nobody denied that. So
They just let it fucking marinate.
By day 4, people are like, this might be accurate. Like, because you didn't deny it, right? Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. There was a point where I believed it happened.
Oh, 100%.
Like, there was a point.
It was definitely like day 3. Day 3, you're like, okay, like nobody has shut this down. Like,
this might be accurate.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, day 4, the Chicago Blackhawks release a statement at around 11 a.m. And the statement reads, paraphrasing here, the Chicago Blackhawks have decided that Corey Perry needs to step away from the team. In other words, we as the Chicago Blackhawks have decided that Corey Perry doesn't need to be a part of this team anymore. So around 2 or 3 p.m., 3 or 4 hours later, Corey Perry's agent releases a statement that says, Corey Perry has himself made the decision to step away from the team. Now it's less clear than it was in the first place because we have more lies. And if you're the Chicago Blackhawks, there's one thing you can't do, and it's lie. Because if you get caught, you are fucked, to put it very, very simply.
Yeah, you get all this like media hate and then end up with the first overall pick next year. Oy.
Yeah, no, well, you're right. That was their punishment for their previous egregious
Yeah.
withholding of information was Connor Bedard, the future of potentially the entire league. So, but then at 5 p.m. on that fourth day, Kyle Davidson, who's the general manager in Chicago, comes out, has a press conference, and basically says, "There's not much that I can say because it is an investigation, but the rumors that have been going around for the last 4 days are categorically incorrect and frankly disgusting." So finally, 4 days later, 4 days of an 18-year-old kid having to having to scroll his Twitter feed with nothing but people telling him that his mom had sex with his teammate. For 4 days. He's 18. I just want to reiterate, he's 18. And then finally, 4 days later, they come out, and that is the first time that anybody with any credibility stated those rumors are incorrect. To me, the most egregious part is that right there, is letting that marinate for 4 days. That is one of the most absurd decisions that I could think of from a hockey team since maybe the 2011 Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah. No, like that's one of those things. Like as soon as that rumor starts going around and like gets a bit of traction, like that's when you put out a fucking statement. Just be like, hey, like that's just you don't
That's
have to
not
tell
true.
you don't have to give the entire story. You can just be like, that's not true.
Yes.
That's all they need to put out.
And now, just so we can clear things up, we still don't know exactly what happened with Corey Perry, but he did release a statement that it had something to do with a staff member
Yeah.
of the Chicago Blackhawks, and it was alcohol fueled. That is what we know. That is all we are going to know until more details come out, which I'm sure they will at a later date. But for now, that is what we know. The rumors were completely false, and see, that's all they had to say. Like in my eyes, on day one, all they had to say was Corey Perry. They didn't even have to mention that it was a staff member of the team. Corey Perry is stepping away from the team due to an alcohol-fueled incident. That's all they had to say. And they saved that kid from that 4 days of
They
trauma.
don't even have to put alcohol fueled in there. I think nobody expects, hey, there was an incident, he's stepping away from the team. That's it. And then what if the Bedard's mom rumors start, you say that's categorically untrue. And there you go. Like
Why
that's
wait 4 days for that? I just don't understand. I don't understand. But it is what it is. The Chicago Blackhawks continue to just absolutely dumbfound me. I don't understand what they think they're doing over there. Like, why they run their organization that way is beyond me, man. I don't get it. But that was like the talk of the hockey world for a good chunk of this week. So I feel like we would be doing a disservice not talking about it.
yeah.
Anything you wanted to add to that, or anything else that you would like to talk about?
To add to that, not particularly. It's not a great situation, for
Silly.
anyone. Yeah. It became so much more than it needed to be.
Yeah.
Like, one statement, and this is like a fucking, and I don't mean to sound like rude when I say this, but like we would have brought it up, talked about it. Corey Perry's stepping away from the Blackhawks, whatever, and that's it. Like that's all it would have been. It would have just been like a kind of a side note piece that we talk about instead of being like something we sit and talk about for 10 minutes here.
Well, and they have to understand that if that's like let's say, if that's the Nashville Predators, they probably could have gotten away with what the Chicago Blackhawks did because they
Because the
haven't
Predators aren't, yeah.
they haven't broken the entire hockey world's trust, right? Whereas when Chicago does something like that, of course it's going to get questioned more than it would anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. They
So they
are,
have to take extra care, and they didn't.
yeah.
So yeah, it's really that simple. It's not rocket science here, guys. We know right from wrong. We know when we should, even if it's a hard statement to make, like even if it's not the easiest thing to do, you know that you have to do it, especially considering your history as an organization, and it's very recent history, I might add. Like, come on. Anyway, that's all we have to say about that. In terms of Corey Perry, honestly, I hate the guy as a hockey player. I hope he gets the help he needs. I think because it sounds like he needs some. So I hope that he comes out a better person.
Yeah. I love Corey Perry, one of my favorite kind of cult icon Habs for that 2021 Cup final run. But yeah, hope that Corey Perry, like the human being, gets the help he needs for sure.
Absolutely. Should we move into talking about this week's hockey games? Or is there anything else that we should chit chat about beforehand?
I got one quick one. They're bringing back the draft for the All-Star Game.
Yes, in Toronto too. I can't wait. It's going to be awesome.
Man, I've been pitching it for 3 years. I'm so happy they're bringing it back.
Yeah, me too.
It's just gonna be more fun. Like there's gonna be, like think of like the potential of seeing like Bedard and McDavid play together. Fucking like Matthews and fucking Bedard and Matthews and McDavid, like all these combinations that we've not seen before. We might get the chance to finally see. I think it's phenomenal. It's been way too long since they've done it, and I hope that Ovi gets picked last and wins the car.
Did you know that the reason that was done away with is because the Players Association didn't want to see one of their players get embarrassed by being the last pick?
But like, here's the thing: is like every year, like they had some fun with it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I remember Phil Kessel getting picked. It was one of the funniest things ever.
Yeah.
Like as a Leafs fan watching that, I enjoyed the hell out of that.
I think it's great. I think it's, and that's like, yes, you're getting picked last, but you're being picked last of the best fucking players on the planet. Like,
Settle
come
down.
on.
Yeah. Yeah. What about all the guys who didn't get selected?
Yeah,
Better
there's
than
like how many hundreds of players who fucking will never even sniff an All-Star game in their career, and you're
Yeah.
gonna be salty that you're picked last in the fucking All-Star draft. Come on.
Yeah. When you
But anyways,
put
yeah,
it like that, eh?
like, come on, guys.
Holy cow.
Can you imagine me like, oh yeah, like I'm only the fucking like 40th best player in the fucking planet right now. Yeah, relax.
Yeah, chillo. Go take your millions of dollars. You know, for a league that's supposed to be one of the toughest, that PA is sure as soft as baby shit, eh?
Oh my god.
Like holy shit.
And like I can't remember like any of the players who got drafted last like being upset. Like it was like everyone was joking and laughing. Like
Everybody had a good time with it, man.
yeah.
Maybe there was one though that like was really, really irritated and like filed a grievance with the PA or something, and that's why they did it. Like, can you imagine?
Like I just yeah, like I can just imagine some guy fucking like sitting there just like fuming, just like, fucking Christ, got picked last in the fucking draft, like writing their letter to the PA and the PA being like
wiping their tears with $100 bills.
Yeah. It's like, man, like now you only got fucking sent to, wherever the fuck the All-Star game was, California. Yeah, we only sent you to California to fucking play hockey in front of like the world. But you were the last guy picked. Fucking cry me a river.
Settle down, chum. Settle down. All right, let's get into some games this week. You go first.
So the Habs have the Kraken tomorrow in Montreal. We have the Kings on Thursday in Montreal, and then we travel to Buffalo on Saturday.
Okay. So yes, after last night's game and a 3-game week this week, it is only a 2-game week for us. We play Thursday, December the 7th here in Ottawa, and then the Preds come to town for Hockey Night in Canada on Saturday the 9th. And I will be done school by then, so that'll be fun. That'll be fun. Yeah, and then it looks like they actually have a 4-game week the week after that. They have back-to-backs on Monday, Tuesday, and they play Thursday and Saturday. So that should be a fun one. Looking forward to that. But yeah, only a couple games next week. Hopefully we can make the most out of them. We'll probably a couple teams will probably catch up to us in the standings there in that tough ass division that we're in. It's tough, eh? Especially as the Habs. Like you guys would probably be competitive in a couple of the other divisions, but man.
Yeah, I think definitely like competitive maybe is the wrong word, but I think in like the Metro we'd be like pushing for a wild card spot probably, as long as like nobody else fucking gets hurt too bad.
Yeah.
And I think also in like the fucking Central, I think we would not be terrible in there. But yeah, it's just, it sucks. like I've said a few times over the last few years, like the Habs have, I say we've picked their perfect time, but like to rebuild, this is like the best time to do it in the Atlantic.
Everybody's just so good.
Yeah.
The thing about the Eastern Conference versus the Western Conference for me this year is I think the Western Conference is a little bit more top heavy. Like the best teams in the Western Conference are really, really good. Like we're talking the Colorados, the Dallas Stars, the
Vegas.
Vegas Golden Knights. Like those are three really, really good hockey teams. But then it really, really tapers off after that. Whereas in the East, it's very deep.
Oh
Like
yeah. Like there's
everybody's got,
like it's easier to name the shit teams in the East
yeah,
because it's fucking Montreal, Ottawa, Detroit, and what, Philly,
Columbus.
Columbus,
Yeah, and
and
I
like
wouldn't even say like
every
Detroit is not a shit team right now. Detroit has been very, very good, dude. Don't
you know,
kid
but
yourself.
like compare them to the rest of the Eastern Conference, right? Yeah, they're
Yeah,
like
yeah. Well, like Tampa is not even like Tampa. I believe is on a 4-game skid, dude.
yeah, they have lost 4 in a row.
They got like shit kicked by the Dallas Stars yesterday afternoon, but
Yeah,
hammered. Like it
that's
was tough to watch
it was what,
if you're a
8-1,
Tampa fan.
9-1?
8-1 final, I believe. Vasilevsky got yanked.
And like I mean, we were talking about it when we were hanging out yesterday, but like I don't even remember the last time Tampa held like 5.
Yeah, man.
Like it's been rough for them this year. But again, Vasilevsky's only been back for what, a couple weeks?
Yeah, yeah. Not even. I think he's like a week back,
Yeah.
maybe 3 or 4 games tops. Yeah, 8-1. Oh man, they got hammered.
I mean, they'll get
Tough.
they'll get no sympathy from me. Let's put it that way. Like that's a rough game, but you're not getting any fucking sympathy from
Yeah,
me.
I believe on the broadcast, Dave Randorf said that they had not lost by that wide of a margin since they lost 9-1 back in their Stanley Cup 2021 season, which was the COVID year.
Yeah, so that's fucked.
Holy shit. Wow. They play again tomorrow. That's mean.
Oh, they play Dallas again?
Yeah,
Oh,
they play tomorrow in Tampa this time. I'd love to
that's
see the Stars
spicy.
do it to them on home ice.
That's
Tampa's
spicy. I like
10-10
that.
and 5, dude. Like they are not great.
No, they're literally playing 500 hockey.
What the hell?
That is not good.
Well,
Like
that's
it's
good to see.
yeah. I mean, yeah, fuck them. Like first of all, first and foremost, fuck them.
Yeah, like they've 3 finals, 2 cups over the past 3 years. I think they'll be okay.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's weird to see them do what we thought the Bruins would do like every year for the past like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, but do you know what? And even watching that game last night, a big part of that is Linus Ullmark. Like I predicted that he was going to suck this year. Boy, does that look bad. Boy, does
Yeah,
that
that's a fucking one of the shittiest hot takes through 25 games, Dave.
like sub 900 save percentage. Try like sub 975. This guy looks like prime Waugh and Brodeur had a kid. Like I don't
Yeah,
know
and
what
then, and
that.
then but the thing is that when he's not in net, it's fucking Swayman in net, who
And
is like
Swayman
equally
cooks too.
good.
Like what the
Like
fuck? How did they go from Tuukka Rask? Like okay, let's talk
Tim
about it.
Thomas.
Tim Thomas, Tuukka Rask, and now Allmark and Swayman as this 1A 1B duo that's like Thanos and fucking God. Like what the hell?
It's
It doesn't. It's
nuts.
unfair. It's
And like
unfair.
not that I want to make sure I phrase this right. Like not that you want your goalies like fighting for a position, but there's the fact that they're not competitive about it at all, that they're like literally like best friends and they're so happy to like fucking split games. It's like they have like the Bruins have like the perfect scenario there.
It's unbelievable. Like
Like
it's
you think back
actually
to
wild.
like Luongo and Schneider in Vancouver and like how that just like was a disaster because they both wanted all the games.
Yes.
And like it's like a good problem to have having 2 good goalies, but that's like the Canucks handled it poorly and didn't get, you know,
The best
didn't
out of
get
either
this
of
out of
them.
it. Yeah, and now you have like the Bruins coincidentally enough, it's the Bruins when we're comparing them to the Canucks. But like, you have like the two best goalies in the league who are like in perfect sync with each other. Like that's just, it's insane.
Yeah, and my bet against them might go down as one of the worst bets in human history.
Yeah, no, like that's when we do the fucking season wrap up video. Like, I'm pulling the clip of you saying no, sub 900 all mark save percentage, and we're putting you on roast.
Oh yeah, and I will deserve it. I might even roast myself.
Oh, you're gonna have no choice because he's gonna probably fucking win a Vezina or something.
What's he sitting at right now? Linus Allmark. 918.
Yeah, and Swayman's rocking a 930. Yeah, I think you might have been wrong on that one, Eve.
Yeah, you're right. How did this guy put up a 938 last year? Dude!
Yeah.
That's insane. All right. Well, I'll eat my shorts on that one. Do you have anything else that you would like to get off of your chest, Gitano Gallo, today?
No, I do believe that is it. Actually, no.
Nope.
I'll just run back and say I'm really happy that Monty signed that deal. Like, super happy about that.
Yeah. There you go. Shout out Monty. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for listening to episode 111 of the Bitter Rivals podcast, powered by 91N. Once again, I am your host, Avery Roche, along with co-host Gitano Gallo, and we are signing off. Thank you for listening this week. Follow us on socials. As you know, Gitano will have them in the link below if you're watching on YouTube, or where else do those go?
The link is everywhere. So we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, we are basically everywhere you get podcasts.
Yeah.
And then also on the Bitter Rivals or on the 91N YouTube platform as well.
So there
we're
you go.
Everywhere.
You get those links clicked, boys and girls. Thank you for listening. We will talk to you next week for episode 112, and have a great week.